Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to talk a little bit about how the crowd asked for Barabbas, but instead they sent him another Judas. So here's what we're going to get into today. I've got $81,000 was given to every homeless person in New York City. Unfortunately, the money never got to the homeless people. It was spent $81,000 per homeless person, but they never saw the money. The money seems to have gone to a lot of administrators and wonks who were handling all this money that comes in, through these democratic governments, and large organizations, NGOs, things like that. These aren't being run typically by conservative types. These are being run more by liberals. And the one thing a liberal likes more than anything else is an open checking account or an open credit card with no limit. They just keep spending, keep spending, keep spending. Well, so right now the report came out that they spent $81,000 per homeless person in New York City, and the population in New York City of homeless has gone up. So all this money that they spent has done little, if anything, to improve anybody's lives. They would have been better off giving the money, the $81,000, to each of the homeless people as a direct handout. And even if they spent half of it on drugs, maybe some of it would have been spent on sandwiches and things like this, or maybe a car or an apartment to get these people out of these cities and out into smaller towns where they might have a better shot at getting some actual real one-on-one help, which these folks are going to be needing. So we got a problem, and we're not seeming to solving it by throwing money at it. So when one of the New York administrators was asked about why this huge run-up in these dollars, and he said it has a lot to do with the larger migration pattern that has happened in New York City that they aren't to be blamed for. Somebody else caused this problem. Somebody else brought all these people to New York City and left them there. And it's their fault, not our fault for being a sanctuary city. So where did the money go? So they're trying to conflate the homelessness issue with an immigration issue. And so this lets them confuse the data even more and the viewers of these news articles even more by trying to pool the problem rather than anyone being accountable for at least their part of the problem or what they did to cause these problems. So no one wants to be accountable. All they want to do is say, we need more money. Please, we need more money. Please, please, we're poor. Please, give us money. We've seen this for too many years, too many decades, and the pattern has continued, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked anywhere. It hasn't worked with saving the dogs from going to the kill shelters. It hasn't helped the people who are involved in these alleged genocides and things like that. It hasn't helped anybody. You throw money at this stuff, and all you do is, make yourself feel good for a little bit until the alcohol wears off, and then you feel miserable again. So we have to change what's going on because this isn't working. So, and the people in New York City are basically saying it hasn't worked. So what are they going to do? $81,000 per person? What are they going to do? It goes over six figures, $100,000 a person. What are they going to do? We're going to need more money. This is what they're going to do. So how did these people all arrive in these cities to begin with? Well, during the COVID breakdown, as we want to call it, a lot of these people got dumped into cities by NGOs or non-governmental organizations. And among those was groups like Western Charities and Catholic Charities and others like that. They had other different names, but they took in billions of dollars. Catholic Charities, it's reported, took in $9 billion, 9 with a B, billion dollars. They're only claiming that it was $2.9 billion, but they won't even talk about where that money went. And then when they got called on about flying people in from South American cities into United States destinations and just being discharged into the country, Catholic Charities came back and said it wasn't against the requirements and the rules involved in the grants that were given to them by the Biden administration. So they were left alone to do their good judgment in what was to be done. So what did they done? What did they do? Well, they took that money like an open credit card, and they sent agents down to South America, and they started rounding up people and putting them on airplanes. And they would take them to the airports, and they would wait for an available seat to come on. Now, if anyone who's flown, international or otherwise much, when you board the plane, there's usually the coach seats are in the back of the plane. Then they may have business class, which is like the first 5 or 6 rows in that same section. It's just forward-facing coach, so it's the same damn seat. And then, but before that, though, you'll have the polite screen that screens off the poor people in the back from the rich people in the front that are sitting in the first-class seats. Now, the average 737, which is one of the airplanes of choice for international travel by these carriers, the 737 has 16 first-class seats on the front side of that curtain in these cabins. Now, if you've ever traveled much or you were sitting by the gate or you boarded a plane late in the boarding process, when you jump on, usually in that first section of seats, there's maybe half of them are filled and the rest of them are sitting vacant. And then you graduate to, as I do, to the back of the plane, back through the curtain with the rest of the cattle, and I sit back there. But those seats up front would typically sit empty. But on these flights coming in from South America during COVID, every seat was filled because there was always somebody with a beautiful credit card from Catholic Charities or one of these other groups waiting there to buy those available first-class seats so they could put another terrorized person on those planes to get them out of the hellhole they came out of. Otherwise known as human trafficking on your dime. That's what these people were doing. And they think that that was good logic to spend $5,000 on a single passage for a one-way ticket to go from Caracas, Venezuela to someplace in Utah. Your money. How do you feel about it? Do you like that? Was it worth it? And then a lot of these people end up, they dump them in cities together. Why were they dumping such concentrations of people together when at the same time that they're dumping all these concentrations of certain people from a certain cultural organization or origin in one particular geographic area of the country, like Springfield, Ohio, where they dumped 20,000 Haitian refugees? Springfield, Ohio had 80,000 people to begin with. And then you come in with a quarter of their population of foreigners who don't assimilate? Yeah, they had problems. Oh, they had big problems. Same thing going on in Minneapolis. How do you think 80,000 Somalis all end up in Minneapolis, going from one of the hottest places on the planet to one of the coldest places in North America? That makes sense to you? Is that culturalization? Is that assimilation? No. When I was living in Dallas, Texas, all right, there were a lot of people from Nigeria were in Dallas, Texas, and a lot of people were immigrating from Nigeria under the chain of custody type of stuff, you know, the same bullshit that the Biden administration was let happen. So you had all this chain migration going on with all these people coming from Nigeria landing in Dallas, Texas. Why were they all going to Dallas, Texas? Well, one reason was the weather was very familiar to them. They didn't have to change any clothes. They didn't have to buy socks. And that's a big thing when you're traveling, whether you got to pack those socks. So the State Department, their rationalization didn't make any sense from a natural viewpoint or any kind of viewpoint. They can't substantiate the numbers, but all of a sudden you get all these heavy groups of a certain population landing in one specific area. Folks, this wasn't naturalization. This was human trafficking, and this was by design. And the people at these NGOs were doing it. They were doing it all the way, and they're laughing at the rest of the country right now that they got away with it. You know, a lot of these people made huge paydays. Catholic Charities people, they won't even talk about their numbers. They say, F you. If somebody asks them about something, if Congress asks them about something, they give them this big, oh, you got to be compassionate. You know, if you're going to challenge a system, oh, you just don't have any compassion. We have to pray for you because you're the problem. No. What these folks did was the exact opposite of compassion. If they were being compassionate with these folks, they would have tried to help them and deliver to them where they were and not take them out of their environment and then cause a problem with the rest of their families and the rest of their community and all like that. No, you help them where they're at. You dislodge the problem at its source. Don't bring it with you. And that's what these folks did. They just said, oh, bring your problems with you. We'll fix you when you get there. No, it isn't happening. So what these folks in these NGOs and on the left with all their compassion, what they did was actually wasn't compassion. It would actually put more of a burden on these people than they really needed to be faced with. There was an easier way. There was a better way to deal with these folks, and they didn't do that. So was this all this? Was this the result of incompetence by well-meaning people who intend through their actions they made some poor calculations and then it didn't turn out like the way they expected? No, this wasn't incompetence. This was designed. This was planned. This was greed. This was all these people. Gimme, 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 gimme. Need more money. Need more money. Gonna need more money. Need more money. Need more money. Got to keep feeding the beast. Got to need more money. Need more money. Oh! It's not going to end until we stop it. So what we need to do is we need to choke off the beast. But the beast has many places that it feeds off of. And it has many heads. It's like that one, I don't know what that monster is with all the different heads. I don't know if it's Hydra or whatever, but all the different heads. This thing is feeding off of so many different ports. And it's not incompetence. It is greed. And then when you try to call them on that, they basically want to hold this compassion card out there, which is another form of basically holding Jesus hostage right in front of you. And saying, if you think like that, you're doing it bad to Jesus. You're the problem. And so they try to throw this at you, which is basically like a Christian death penalty. So what they're really saying to you is they really don't want to solve any problem, because if you solve the problem, the money dries up, and then what am I going to do? You did this to me if you take me out of business. Well, you probably need to be taken out of business. You probably need to be taken out of your entire community and put before a judge and maybe put in prison. Got along fine before without you? We'll get along without you now. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.